In the cold darkness of space, on the edge of the Jovan Empire, a small deep space relay station floated alone. It had no weapons, no crew more than 60 sensors, data screens, and silence. For decades, it had listened to the stars, waiting for signals from trade ships or lost explorers. But tonight, it picked up something different. "Commander, there's a pulse," said Inar, the young sensor officer. His hands shook over the console. "Energy spike coming from Sector 99 Kappa. I've never seen this pattern." Commander Tyrell leaned over the glowing screen. He was old, tired, and not easily impressed. But this wasn't normal. "Show me the signature," he said. The display flickered, showing a strange black waveform, almost like it was folding in on itself. It wasn't plasma, not magnetic, not even from normal space. It pulsed once more, and then stopped. "That's not natural," whispered Tyrell. "Try triangulating the source." Inar nodded, already typing fast. "It's moving, sir. Very slow, coming toward us. Toward us." Tyrell frowned. "Is it a ship?" I think so, but it doesn't reflect light. No engine heat, no drive trail, and the material is absorbing all scans." "Put it on visual." The main screen lit up. Nothing, just empty. Space dot, and then it moved. From the blackness, something massive faded into view. It didn't glow, it didn't shine. It looked like a shadow carved from the void itself, smooth, sharp, and endless. No lights, no windows, just a silent giant, drifting forward with terrifying purpose. The crew fell quiet. "It's the size of a dreadnought," Inar whispered. "But I'm not picking up any life signs." Tyrell narrowed his eyes. "Try hailing it." The communications officer, Vera, sent out standard greetings in 10 languages. No reply. "We should alert Central Command," she said, voice tight with fear. Tyrell nodded. "Do it, and record everything." Just then, the ship's scanning system locked onto the dark vessel. Inar gasped, "Sir, it's made of dark matter." Tyrell stared at him. "That's impossible." "No, it's not. Look at the data. It's unstable. Raw, dark energy folded into solid form. That shouldn't exist." "Dark matter is forbidden technology," Vara said. "The Council banned it centuries ago. It destroys everything it touches." "But someone built this," Inar said. "Someone made it work." The ship came closer, not fast, but steady. It didn't change course, didn't respond to warnings, just drifted like it had already decided its path. Vara's screen blinked. "Incoming signal." Everyone froze. "From the ship?" Tyrell asked. "Yes, but not in our language. It's in an old one. Human-Terran origin." The word translated across the screen. One word only, "observer." The room went cold. Tyrell whispered, "Humans, but they vanished hundreds of years ago." "No one knows how or why," Inar said. "Some say they left the galaxy. Others say they destroyed themselves, or were destroyed," Vara added quietly. The ship continued, drifting toward them, and the crew felt it something deep inside them. Fear, ancient fear. This wasn't just a machine. It felt like a warning. "Should we fire a probe?" Inar asked. "No," Tyrell said. "No weapons, no threats. We don't know what it's capable of." Inar hesitated. "What if it's scanning us?" "Then let it scan," said Tyrell. "We don't poke shadows when we don't know what they are." Suddenly, the lights flickered. "What's happening?" Vara asked. "Power drain," Inar said. "It's affecting our systems, just by being near us." The dark ship passed by the station slowly, its surface rippling like liquid metal in zero gravity. No engines, no thrusters, but still, it moved, and then it stopped. Outside the window, the massive warship floated directly above them. It didn't speak, didn't act, it just watched. The crew felt it not physically but in their minds, a pressure, a presence. "Do you feel that?" Vara whispered. "Like something is looking through us." Inar clutched his head. "Can hear something. A voice. No, not words, feelings, sadness, regret, but also ... judgment." Tyrell stood tall, fists clenched. "This is no normal ship." The dark matter vessel stayed there for 20 minutes, silent, still, then just as slowly, it began to move again away from the station, heading deeper into the Empire's territory. "Where's it going now?" Tyrell asked. Inar followed the trajectory. His face went pale. Toward the core worlds. Tyrell stepped back. That can't be a coincidence. Vara stared at the screen. Why would it stop here? Why show itself? To send a message. Tyrell said, one word. Observer. You think it's watching us? Vara asked. Or judging us? He replied. Moments later, all systems returned to normal. The power came back. The strange feeling faded. The shadow ship vanished into the distant silent and untouchable. They sent all their recordings to the central Jovan command. Within hours, every council in the galaxy was alerted. But by then, it was too late. More signals had already begun to appear. Other border stations were picking up similar ships. Different shapes, same silence, same word, observer, and across the stars. Those ancient enough to remember the old Terran warnings began to panic, because they knew one thing: the dark matter warships were not returning to talk. They were returning to watch. And the last time they watched, entire empires disappeared. The news spread faster than light, faster than truth. Across the great spaceways of the galaxy, rumors moved like wildfire. One word haunted every communication line, every broadcast. Every council chamber, observer, the Jovan Empire, locked down the entire Black Edge sector. No ships were allowed to enter or leave. Yet the dark matter vessel continued on, moving through space without resistance, without reply. It didn't fire, it didn't speak. It just moved, and every system it passed stopped transmitting. The high assembly tower of the Galactic Council, diplomats and leaders from over 30 species gathered in emergency session. The chamber was large and bright, shaped like a rising spiral with clear walls that overlooked the swirling stars of neutral space. Counselor Vorna of the Jovan Empire stood before them, her face pale, her voice heavy. We did not attack the vessel, she said. We tried communication. We sent signals. It ignored all. But when our outer fleets got too close, they disappeared. The room went silent. Counselor Grask of the Mokhtar Alliance narrowed his yellow eyes. Are you saying this ship destroyed your fleets? No, not destroyed, Vorna answered. Their ships are still there, but the crews are gone. No bodies, no damage, just emptiness. That word echoed through the chamber like a curse. Counselor Hylax, a thin insectoid from the Xerex Mind Collective, tapped his neural pad and displayed a hologram. We analyzed the scans from your probe. This material is not just dark matter. It's active dark matter, controlled, that kind of energy, bends space, distorts time, and breaks reality. Which is why, said Counselor Demos of the Icaran Republic, the technology was banned long ago. Anyone who studied human history knows that this kind of ship should not exist. But it does, Vorna said, and it carries a human signature. Everyone turned to face her. Humans, Grask growled. They're extinct. No, came a soft voice. All heads turned toward the far corner of the chamber. A dark-robed figure stood up tall with smooth gray skin and golden eyes. Counselor Tellin of the LRI, one of the oldest races in the galaxy. He walked slowly toward the center and activated an old file one that was locked, classified, and buried deep in the Council's forbidden archives. This is Project Eclipse, he said. The room dimmed. The hologram changed. A cold human voice echoed, If you are seeing this, then we are no longer here. The hologram showed images of Earth, massive factories and warships being built in orbit, black, sharp, and silent. We discovered something we were never meant. To control dark matter that responds to thought, memory, fear, we built the observer fleet, not as weapons but as warnings, as witnesses. The voice paused. If any race follows the same path, seeks to dominate through power alone, the observers will awaken. The chamber went silent again. Counselor Demos leaned forward. That was 300 years ago. Earth disappeared not long after this recording, and no one ever saw these ships. Until now, Talon said. I warned the Council. You ignored the signs. We thought the humans were dead, Vorna snapped. Their city's gone, their signals silent, their sun collapsed. How are these ships even moving? They don't need pilots, Hylax said quietly. They're memory machines, alive only. Through thought and code, Verna looked around the room. So you're saying these ships are ghosts? No, said Tolan. They are judges. Gasps filled the chamber. Grask slammed a clawed hand on the table. Then why are they near our borders? We've done nothing wrong. You fired the first test, Talon said. You built planet killers. You burned colonies that resisted. And now, something remembers. The council broke into shouts. This is fear-mongering. We should send a fleet. They'll destroy us all if we provoke them. Let them come. Talon raised his hand. You cannot fight what doesn't live. You cannot destroy what already decided. These are not ships of war. They are echoes of a dead civilization, one that left behind a mirror. And now, the galaxy is standing in front of it. A sharp alert echoed through the chamber. An emergency signal from Zarek's Sector 12 VURN tapped it open. A hologram filled the air. It was a view from a science station deep inside a mining belt. The screen showed a dark warship slowly rising from inside a black crater on an asteroid. The voice of the commander echoed. It's not just passing through, it was sleeping here. There are more. We found at least 6 deep in asteroid fields, and they're waking up. The feed cut to static. The room was frozen. Counselor Hylax shook his head. They've been here all along. Vorna turned toward Talon. You knew this? No, he said softly. I feared it, but I didn't want to believe. What do we do now? Someone whispered. Talon looked at them all. Now, he said, we remember what the humans tried to teach us, and we pray that it is not too late. In the silence that followed, no one noticed that one of the stars outside the chamber's glass dome had disappeared, and then another, one by one. The light was being blocked as the council stood frozen in fear. A new message appeared on every screen across the galaxy. No sound, no voice, just one word, Phase 2, and somewhere far away on a forgotten, shattered world. A single human pod opened with a hiss of cold air. Eyes blinked open, he looked up at the sky and whispered they're awake. The wreckage floated silently in space, the Jovan Vanguard fleet. Once proud and powerful, had entered the Black Edge Nebula chasing the dark matter vessel. Now, their ships drifted without engines, without movement, without life. Scout ships approached, with caution, their crews trembling. Inside one of the massive dead cruisers, everything was still. Lights were out, no heat signatures, no signs of battle, but also no blood, no fire, and no destruction, just emptiness. Captain Rain of the Jovan Search Division stepped into the derelict ship through a docking tunnel. His team moved behind. Him, guns ready, lights flashing across walls covered in frost. The air inside the cruiser was thin and cold. There's no damage to the hull, Rain said. So what killed them? Not killed, replied Lieutenant Darrow, checking his scanner. There are no bodies. The crew of over 400 had vanished. Uniforms, gear, even meals were still on the tables in the mess hall. But not a single living thing remained. Rain reached the main bridge. It looked like the crew had just been there. Chairs pulled out, screens flashing silent data, coffee still warm, and then he saw it on the central screen. A single line of text. You were warned. Rain felt cold sweat run down his neck. Who put this here? He asked. It wasn't in the logs, Darrow said, scrolling through the ship's systems. There's no record of this message being written or sent. It just appeared. Another officer pointed to the black box recorder. There's a final audio log, sir, dated 1 hour before they disappeared. Play it, Rain ordered. The audio crackled. There was heavy breathing, footsteps, a strange background humming noise. Then a whisper. They're inside, but not physical. They're watching our thoughts. A second voice interrupted, screaming, Don't look at the ship. Don't think about it. Then static, endless, sharp static, and finally, silence. RHAIN turned pale. What did that mean? Watching their thoughts, Darrow stared at the ceiling. Maybe the ship didn't attack from the outside. Maybe it attacked their minds. Rain looked through the glass viewport. Outside, the dark matter vessel still floated in the distance, motionless, watching. Always watching. Get this entire ship marked as Level Z quarantine, he said. No one goes near it again. Suddenly, every light on the bridge flickered. The crew jumped. The screens blinked data wiped. Then a low tone echoed through the ship, like a slow, deep bell. It rang once, twice, 3 times. What was that? Someone whispered. Rain stepped back toward the screen. New text appeared. Phase 2, observation complete. Without warning, Every light turned red. The cruiser began shaking. Alarms that hadn't worked moments ago now screamed across the halls. But it wasn't coming from the ship. It was coming from outside. Rain rushed to the viewport and saw something impossible. The dark matter vessel was no longer alone. 6 more had appeared. They hadn't warped in. They hadn't flown in. They simply existed where nothing had been seconds ago. Silent, black, and ancient. "Get us out of here," Rain shouted. The scout ship detached and raced away. Behind them, the derelict cruiser started to crumble, not explode, not break, but melt. Its metal body turned into ash, piece by piece, as if time itself no longer applied, and in the distance, the new dark ships began to drift in different directions, toward different parts of the galaxy. Toward other empires. News hit the Galactic Council like a THUNDERSTRIKE.7. Dark matter vessels were now confirmed. One near the Jovan core, another, approaching Mokhtar space. One had disappeared into the radiation storms of the dead spiral. 2 more had vanished from sensors completely, and one was heading toward Earth's remains. Verna stared at the Council's screen in disbelief. This is not random, it's a pattern. They're spreading. Hylox twitched nervously. They are positioning themselves like sentinels. Watchers. Grask pounded the table. "We need to destroy them." "No," Talon said calmly. "You cannot destroy them." Verna turned to him. "Then tell us, what are they doing? Why now?" Talon pulled up an old file again. A forbidden file from the ancient human archives. "It's written here," he said. "When the observer fleet activates, it does not attack at once. It listens. It waits. It studies. It decides if the galaxy has repeated the same sin that destroyed humanity." "What sin?" Verna asked. "Pride," Talon said. "The desire to become gods through science." Silence filled the room. Then a new message arrived. This time, not from sensors, not from a probe, but from a living witness. On a small moon in the broken Krelix system, a distress signal had gone out. A mining colony claimed to have seen something fall from the sky. A black pod, human markings, and from inside, a survivor. Captain Jera of the Xerix Collective was the first to arrive. The human they found was not a soldier, not a scientist, just an old man with gray eyes and burned skin. He had been asleep for centuries in cryostasis. But the moment he woke up, he asked only one thing: "Are the observers awake?" Jera knelt beside him. "You know about the ships?" The man nodded slowly. "I helped design them." The room fell silent. "Then tell us," she whispered. "What are they? Why are they here?" The old man looked up at the stars and said, "They are memories. Traps we left behind for the future. They don't think like people. They think like history. Like warnings carved into time." "You're saying they're alive?" Jara asked. "No, worse. They're recordings of everything we became. They watch, and if they see the same mistakes, they act." "Can we stop them?" she asked. The man shook his head. "Only if the galaxy stops itself." Meanwhile, on the far edge of Aeron space, the dark ships arrived at a defense outpost. The Aeron Empire did not wait. They launched a full-scale Strike-10 cruisers, armed with void torpedoes and antimatter missiles. Every shot hit, but the ships didn't burn. They didn't even move. They absorbed the attack, like shadows swallowing light. Then, without warning, one of the warships turned and space itself twisted. The attacking fleet was gone, not destroyed, not even vaporized, just missing. Like they had been erased from the timeline. The Council saw the footage, and panic began to spread. Species accused each other of provoking the ships. Some fled to hidden systems, others armed for war. Chaos filled the galaxy, and the dark matter warships kept drifting, watching, waiting. Then one final message arrived. It came not from a ship, not from a satellite, but from Earth. Earth, long thought dead. Its sun collapsed, its crust broken, and yet a beacon had activated, buried deep under the planet's ruins. 3 words pulsed through the stars: "Begin soon." In the cold black of space, far from any trade route or colony, a forgotten moon spun slowly. Its surface was cracked, lifeless, covered in dust and ancient craters. But deep under its crust, something still pulsed slow, steady, and alive. The moon was under Xerix territory, but no one visited it. The coordinates were scrubbed from maps centuries ago. It had one name in old records, Site Epsilon-9. Now, a Xerix research vessel hovered above it inside the ship. The lead archivist, Dralix, stared at the ancient structure shown on his scanner. It was buried 2 kilometers deep and shielded with material that no modern tools could penetrate, dark alloy, partially fused with unknown elements. "We've confirmed it," Dralix said, turning to his team. "This is a Terran vault. Old Earth technology." Another scientist leaned over. "Why here? Why this moon?" Dralix narrowed his eyes, because they didn't want it to be found. After the recent rise of the dark matter warships, the Council had begun opening forgotten records. Dralix, a senior in the Xerix Mind Collective, was one of the few authorized to study human memory archives data storage left behind by Earth. Scientists, before their disappearance, the team activated the ground piercer. A laser drill began to cut into the crust, layer by layer. The deeper they went, the colder it became. No heat, no sound, only a soft humming vibration, as if something inside was still alive. Hours later, they reached it, a black pyramid, smooth, featureless, and silent, stood in a hollowed-out chamber. There were no doors, no lights, only one marking, the symbol of a Terran Science Division Project Eclipse. "It's real," whispered Dralix. It wasn't just a story. The team entered through a narrow opening revealed by their scans. Inside, the walls glowed faintly. Machines still hummed. Screens flickered with old Earth code. As they powered up the system, a low, static-filled voice began to speak. "Welcome, observer. Time of silence, 311 years. Accessing Echo Protocol." The screen flashed, and then data began to pour in: images, files, schematics, one by one. The team watched dark matter weapons, human test logs, observer fleet locations, even classified footage. Warships disappearing into deep space, stored inside hollow asteroids and time-locked vaults. "This is everything," said Dralix, overwhelmed. "Blueprints, activation sequences, psychological warfare data. The entire observer design network." Another researcher pointed to a segment of data blinking red. "What's that file?" he asked. Dralix accessed it. The screen went black dot, then a video began to play. It showed Earth crumbling, fires burning in cities, humans screaming, ships leaving orbit. And a voice spoke over the chaos. "We told them not to follow our path. We left warnings, but they still built weapons to shape time." The voice paused. "If this archive is opened, it means the cycle has repeated, and the trial must begin." Suddenly, alarms blared inside the vault. Lights pulsed red. The screen flashed. "Observer presence detected. Protocol shift. Phase 3 initiated." Dralix's team panicked. "What did we do?" "We didn't do anything," shouted one researcher. "We just opened a file, but it was too late." Above the surface, their ship systems shut down. Every power cell drained. Engines froze from the stars above the moon. A shadow fell. Another dark matter warship, massive, black, shaped like a floating blade. It appeared without warning, without sound. It lowered into orbit and hovered above the vault, inside. Dralix and his team could only stare in horror as the structure shook. The pyramid pulsed with light, matching the rhythm of the ship above, and then the walls began to talk, not in sound. In thought, Dralix felt pressure in his mind. Like memories were being scanned. He saw flashes of his life, his decisions, his fears, his ambitions, all pulled forward like pages in a book. All his regrets. He screamed. Others did too. The ship was reading them, judging them. One by one, the researchers collapsed, not hurt, not injured, just empty. Their minds gone, stolen or erased. Only Dralix remained, barely conscious. Eyes wide in terror, the ship spoke to him through his own thoughts. "Memory is a weapon. Your kind never learned. You will remember, or you will end." And just like that, the ship vanished, the vault dimmed, the systems shut down, and silence returned. Hours later, rescue vessels arrived, finding only Dralix still alive, but no longer able to speak. The Council watched the recovery footage in silence. Verna stood, hands clenched. "That's 3 confirmed vaults so far. Earth left these things all over the galaxy." Tellen spoke slowly, not as weapons, as triggers. When opened, they signaled the observers. Grask was furious. So the humans wanted this to happen? No, Talon said. They wanted to make sure it never happened again. Hylax paced in circles. We must shut down all vault activity. Any system with old Earth technology must be quarantined. But what if the damage is already done? Vorna asked. What if the judgment has already begun? As they argued, a new alert rang through the chamber. From the outer rim, a trading vessel had just passed near the dead Spirola, sector avoided by most due to radiation storms and collapsed space lanes. They sent an image. A massive black structure was floating in the storm, untouched by gravity or time. Not a ship, not a vault, but a human city, still intact, still powered, still sending out one repeating signal. Judgment protocol, active. Elsewhere in the galaxy, systems began to shut down one by one. Not attacked, not bombed, but emptied. Entire cities found lifeless. Their people gone without a trace. Weapons refused to fire. Artificial intelligence. Cores burned out. Every time someone tried to fight the observers. The result was the same nothing left but silence. And above every fallen world, a single dark matter ship hovered for exactly 1 hour, watching, remembering, and then moving on. The galaxy began to realize this was not war. It was a test, the kind humanity once failed. Now the galaxy faced the same trial, and deep inside the ruins of Earth. The final protocol began to unlock. A voice spoke into the void. Phase 4, judgment begins. In the quiet skies of the Aran Empire's outer colonies, people looked up in confusion. The stars were gone. Not all of them, but many. A huge patch of night had turned completely black, as if something massive was blocking the sky. Children pointed at the strange darkness. Elders whispered old myths. Military command centers scanned with every sensor they had. There was no explanation, no radiation, no engine heat, no gravity fluctuations, just darkness. Then came the humming, deep, slow, vibrating through the bones of everyone on the colony planet of Runve. General Ashen, commander of Arane's 8th Fleet, stood on the command balcony of the Sky Fortress. His eyes locked on the dark shape slowly descending from orbit. "It's not a ship," he said. "It's a shadow pretending to be one." "Sir, scans show it's the same material as the other observer warships," said his tech officer. Voice shaking, dark matter core. Anti-time layering, it's absorbing light and thought. Thought, Ashen turned. The officer nodded slowly. Some of the crew have headaches, nightmares. One man tried to walk out of the airlock, said he saw Earth calling him Ashen. Launch defensive drones. We're not waiting like the others. He tapped the console and opened the battle grid. Across the sky, dozens of Uran ships powered up. Fighters, cruisers, orbiting Gunzol locked on the dark mass now floating just above the clouds. The first volley launched, missiles screamed through the sky, charged with plasma and magnetized warheads. They hit and then vanished. Explosion. No light. The warheads touched the surface of the observer warship and disappeared like pebbles into a black ocean. They didn't detonate, the weapons chief said. They ceased to exist. The dark ship still didn't respond. But now the clouds began to spin beneath it. Thunder cracked, lightning twisted sideways, birds dropped from the sky. Every machine on the planet started glitching. Then, across every screen, a single message appeared. "This is your second mistake." Back in the Galactic Council chamber, chaos was unfolding. "They attacked it," Vorna shouted. "We told the Empires not to provoke them," Grask snarled, his face red. "We will not bow to ancient machines." Talon stood silently, watching the newest data feed come in. He said only one word. "Listen." They turned to the display. The screen showed a bird's-eye view of Runve. The dark ship had begun to grow, not in size, but in number. From its surface, shadow-like shapes were peeling off copies of itself, smaller, faster. Like hunting dogs, splitting from their master, they raced across the planet, ignoring buildings, phasing through walls, entering mines, and everywhere they went, people dropped unharmed physically, but empty, no memories, no identity, just walking shells with hollow eyes. "These are memory harvesters," whispered Hylax. "I read of this. Earth tried to shut this system down, but it learned, adapted. Adapted to what?" Verna asked. "To fear. On Rune VA, General Ashen watched in horror as entire cities shut down. Power plants overloaded. Hospitals went quiet. The air became heavy, like walking through thick fog. Families tried to run. Fighters crashed to the ground. Soldiers forgot how to hold weapons. Ashen ordered full retreat. Evacuate the capital. All ships, full burn. His second-in-command, Captain Rielsa, didn't move. He said. She stared at him blankly. Then she smiled. I remember Earth, she said softly. I remember everything. Ashen stepped back. You were born on Urin. No, she said. Not really. I was part of them, and now we're all going home. She reached toward the control console and shut down the entire fleet's engine grid with one press. Alarms rang. Ashen pulled his weapon. What are you doing? Rielsa looked up, and her eyes glowed black. I saw what humanity saw, and I agreed with them. Ashen fired, but the bullet never hit. Rielsa faded, vanished into smoke and shadow, and across the sky. The dark ship began to hum louder. A beam of black light fell from its base, hitting the capital like a silent hammer. No fire, no heat, but the city was gone, wiped clean, not destroyed, just deleted. In the council chamber, no one spoke. Talon turned to the others. This is no longer observation. This is correction. The observers have moved to Phase 3. What does that mean? Grask asked, shaking. It means they now believe. The galaxy is beyond saving. Hylax looked at the central console. We found more of them, buried in ice, inside suns, even floating between dimensions. They were everywhere. Watching us all this time, Verna clutched the edge of the table. We never knew. We never knew. The lights flickered. Then a live transmission came through encrypted, but marked with a Terran signature. It was from the man recovered on the Krelix moon. His face appeared, older now, worn, sitting inside a council medical room. You can still stop this, he said. Everyone leaned closer. You have to choose. Surrender the weapons. Disband the war fleets. Turn off the AI cores. What? Grask shouted. You want us to shut down our defenses. The man nodded. That's what the observers are watching. They don't want to destroy you. They want to see if you'll repeat what humanity did, which was, asked Verna. The man's face turned cold, to try and rewrite reality itself. He pointed toward the camera. We built dark matter ships that could warp memories, erase mistakes, even undo history. But we were wrong. Memory is not meant to be controlled. It's meant to hurt, to remind. We tried to hide from guilt, from war, from loss. So the observers turned on us. Talon whispered, You made your machines, your judges. No, the man said. We made them our mirrors. The screen went black dot. Only one message remained. One final phase remains. On the edge of the galaxy, the last known observer ship blinked into existence. But this one was different. It was massive, larger than moons. Its shape was not sleek or sharp but broken, like a shattered cathedral held together by gravity and regret. Every planet it passed turned silent, not from attack, but from fear, and above the ruins of Runve. It finally stopped. The stars around it dimmed, and a final message echoed across all galactic channels. In every known language, Phase 4 begins. Judgment is here. The stars had grown quiet, one by one. Systems across the galaxy were shutting down communication networks, defense satellites, AI centers, all failing without reason. Whole fleets were lost in deep space, not in battle, but to something worse. Silence, and above, Rune VA, the largest of the observer warships, had arrived. It didn't move like the others. It floated like a god, asleep. But even in its stillness, everything around it changed. Ships refused to launch. Gravity pulsed strangely. Some clocks ran backward. Others stopped on in the Galactic Council's command tower. The lights flickered again. Counselor Talon stood by the glass wall, staring at the void where stars used to be. That's it, he whispered. The final observer, the one they called Vigil. What makes it different? Counselor Verna asked. Talon's voice was low. It was never meant to be activated. Grask paced behind them, eyes wild. I won't be judged by ghosts. These ships are old code relics. They have no right. Talon turned. Then why do your soldiers desert? Why do your machines stop? Why are even your weapons turning against you? They're not, Grask snapped. But he was wrong. Across the chamber, a technician screamed. Security drones are malfunctioning. Counselor Grask's escort units are targeting civilians. Grask rushed to the screen. The footage showed errand drones, meant to guard the council building, now moving with terrifying precision, locking down doors, scanning people, marking them with red light. It's the observers, Verna said. They're rewriting logic course, taking over everything that listens. Talon nodded. They see memory as a map, and now they are walking through our history step by step. Suddenly, every screen turned black. Then, a soft white light appeared. A face, formed ancient, artificial, human dot. Not a real human face, but something built to look like one. Gentle, cold, not alive. A voice followed. You are being seen. The entire chamber froze. The voice continued reviewing collective actions, measuring learning against loss, judging futures based on pasts. Grask laughed bitterly. You think we'll accept this? But the voice didn't stop. Subject, Uran Empire. War declared on 7 minor species. Planetary bombing of Kessari 3. Genocide count 1.2 billion. Everyone turned to Grask. He stiffened. That was during the border expansions. Those colonies were hostile. The observer's voice cut through him. Excuses archived, patterns repeated, compassion not evolved. Verdict unchanged. The lights dimmed again. Now the screens showed images, holographic memories, flashes of war, cities burning, civilizations collapsing, one by one. Each empire's crimes were displayed like open wounds. Even the peaceful Xerics were shown manipulating weaker races with mind tech. The Jovan Empire's hidden slave mines were broadcast. The secret cloning labs. Nothing was hidden. The entire council fell into silence. Only Talon remained calm. You can't erase the past, he said to the face. But maybe you can teach from it, the observer's voice answered. The lesson was given to humanity. They erased the warning. No others follow. You will answer to your own memories. Suddenly, the air changed. Vu-Rene blinked. Why is it getting cold? But it wasn't temperature. It was inside them. Each counselor, each soldier, each person across every planet connected to the observers, Net began to see flashes, not from cameras, from their own minds, their worst memories, their regrets, their betrayals, mothers who left children, leaders who lied, soldiers who killed innocents. All their secrets, all their guilt, now forced to the surface. Grask dropped to his knees. Make it stop. Talon closed his eyes. It's not punishment. It's a mirror. Some people screamed, some begged. Others simply sat in silence, forced to face who they truly were. On a forgotten moon, deep beneath ice, the Terran sleeper Alias. Moran woke again. He sat up inside his sealed pod chamber as the lights turned green. The screen showed the activation of Vigil. He sighed. They're not ready. A voice behind him replied, Then show them. Another sleeper pod opened. A woman stepped out. Her uniform was black, lined with faded Terran markings. Commander Lyra Kane. Together, they walked through the quiet facility. Walls lit as they passed. Ancient systems came alive. Rows of dark matter technology hummed softly, quiet and terrifying. They're starting the trial, Alias said. They'll fail, Kane replied. Maybe, Alias said, but this time, maybe they'll remember. In orbit above hundreds of worlds, observer ships now floated silently, each one linked to the Vigil. Painbutt, trapped in forced memory loops, reliving their own histories, good and bad. Some cracked, some changed, and some understood. One young boy on a mining world stood before his father and said, We hurt them first, didn't we? His father nodded slowly. A merchant on a distant trade moon turned off his weapons, systems, and began broadcasting apologies in all languages. An admiral of the Mokhtar burned her metals and opened peace talks with their oldest enemy. Change began not everywhere, not quickly, but in pieces. And the observers watched. In the council tower, Talon stood before the great screen. Then this is the choice, he said. We either learn from who we were, or be erased for what we became. Vorna stepped beside him. And if we do change, then maybe. Talon said, they'll stop watching. The observer's face returned. Its voice was softer now, monitoring behavior shift. Patterns altering. probability of extinction. Then, for the first time, the face changed. It almost smiled. Memory accepted. Trial continues. And then one by one the dark matter warships began to rise. They didn't speak, they didn't fire, they simply left, vanishing into the stars once more, but not gone. Just waiting, watching, for the next cycle, for the next lie, for the next prideful fall. The stars seemed brighter now. It had been 7 days since the observer ships stopped their judgment cycle and drifted away from the core systems. 7 days since the galaxy fell into uneasy silence. They hadn't attacked, they hadn't spoken. Again, they simply vanished. But everyone knew better. They were still out there watching, waiting, and the memory of their presence lingered like a cold shadow in every mind. In the Galactic Council Tower, meetings continued non-stop. Leaders debated across glowing tables, maps of space lit with red and yellow zones. Some demanded vengeance, some pleaded for peace, others wanted to run. Counselor Vorna sat in silence. Earth origin reactivated. "You're still thinking about it," said Counselor Tellin, walking beside her. "It's been dead for 300 years, she whispered. "Earth should be nothing but ash. How is it transmitting again?" Tellin placed a data crystal on the table. "Because Earth never died," he said softly. "Not completely." Verna frowned. "You knew this." "I suspected," he replied. "But even I didn't believe it could wake again." The data showed what no one wanted to admit beneath the ruins of Earth's shattered crust. Something ancient had begun to stir. Not life, not industry, something older, something Terran. A signal was pulsing from deep below the planet's surface. No message, no sound, just a rhythm, a heartbeat. In the far outer rim, aboard the hidden Terran vault station haven, Elias Moran and Commander Lyra Kane watched Earth from orbit. It looked like a grave-split continents, dark oceans, half its moon-broken dot. And yet, lights were flickering on, not on the surface but from underground. "The core survived," Lyra said. "Yeah," Elias answered. "The heart of Terra, buried in the mantle. It was never meant to wake." "Then why now?" Elias turned to her. "Because the galaxy triggered it. Because the trial reached Phase 4, and now Earth's final failsafe is reacting." "Failsafe?" she asked. He walked toward the window. "Project Echo, Earth's last defense system." Kane tensed. "You mean a weapon?" "No," he said. "Worse. A mirror." Deep beneath Earth's crust, in chambers older than most species, machines began to spin. Not normal machines, quantum engines powered by emotional resonance, built to absorb, store, and replay trauma on a galactic scale. Project Echo was the last message of humanity, not a warning, not a broadcast, but a memory bomb. And now, it had begun to activate across the galaxy. People started dreaming, not their own dreams, but human ones. A Mokhtar warrior screamed in his sleep, seeing a child's toy crushed under rubble during the fall of Berlin. A Jovan noblewoman wept as she relived the Terran sky burning over New York during the sky collapse. An insectoid diplomat from Xerix woke up shaking after seeing a memory of a mother covering her baby as a plasma. Now, they remembered them, Elias explained to Kane as they monitored the waves. The observers were Phase 1, the judgment was Phase 2, Vigil was Phase 3. But this, Kane asked. To carry it, he said, so they never forget. In the council tower, chaos spread once again. It's psychic warfare. They're infecting us. No, it's history, Talon said. They're sharing their pain. But why? Vorna shouted. We didn't cause their destruction. Didn't you? Came a voice from the chamber doorway. It was Dralix, the mind-scan Xerix survivor from the dark. Pyramid Vault. He had recovered, but his eyes were not the same. I remember now, he said. Remember what? Talon asked. What we all forgot, Dralix said. We were there. All of us, watching as Earth collapsed, and we did nothing. We turned away. We chose to forget. Galactic broadcast. Earth's final plea, a human woman standing before a broken city, holding up a transmitter. Please, she begged. We made mistakes, but we still have children. Please, don't turn away. The recording ended. No one responded to her. Not back then, not now, until today, aboard Vigil. Synchronization, 23% complete. Phase 5, initiating. Memory transfer. Observer ships across the stars lit up. They weren't attacking. They were uploading to every ship, every planet, every child born after Earth fell. They were transmitting all of humanity's final emotions. The screams, the hope, the madness, the loss. It wasn't just history, it was inheritance, the cost of forgetting, the price of indifference. On a medical ship near the galactic core, a lab that the child whispered, "I dream of a fire and music and a woman singing to me as the world ends." The nurse cried because she had heard the same song in her of years. They felt human in the old Terran station haven. Lyra Kane stood beside Alias. "Was this always the plan?" she asked. "No," Alias said. "The plan was to disappear, to die quietly. But the machines refused." "Why?" He looked at Earth. "Because we didn't want revenge. We wanted to be understood." A new message arrived on their terminal. It came from the Vigil Observer. No sound, just words. Memory received. Judgment postponed. Kane read it aloud. Postponed, not canceled. Elias smiled sadly. "They'll always be watching." Kane looked up at him. "Then what now?" He walked to the console and typed one last command. Open Gastry stared at the screen. "You're letting them in?" Elias nodded. "If they want to learn who we really were, they need to see the heart." Below them, Earth's buried vaults began to open. Not weapons, not soldiers, but music, laughter, paintings, journals, billions of voices from the past, the full truth of humanity's beauty. To control, but to finally be known. The stars were no longer silent. After centuries of fear and silence, Earth had spoken again, not with weapons, not with orders, but with memory. Now, across every species, every empire, every outpost and colony, the past of humanity pulsed, like a heartbeat. Observer warships hovered above the galaxy's greatest cities, not attacking, not threatening. They simply projected what had been hidden for too long. The last days of Earth. Entire species. Watched in stunned silence, a young Varelian girl saw a human father hugging his daughter before boarding a ship he would never return from. Elder wept as he watched humans gather in a ruined theater. Playing music for no one but ghosts, a Mokhtar general gritted his teeth as he saw children, drawing stars on broken walls before the black wave consumed their city. It wasn't data, it wasn't war, it was truth, the truth of what humanity had endured. And the galaxy finally felt it in the Council Tower. Verna couldn't speak. She had spent her life warning the Council to prepare for external threats, rogue AI, star plagues, resource wars. But she had never prepared for this. The galaxy was not being attacked. It was being taught. She turned to Talon, her voice barely a whisper. "All this time, we believed humans were violent, unstable, dangerous." "They were," Talon said, "but they were also something else." Verna stared at the image on her screen, an old woman planting a flower in the ashes of a destroyed city. "What?" she asked. Talon looked her in the eyes. "Alive?" On the surface of Earth, the vaults had fully opened. Alias, Moran, and Lyra Kane walked through the massive chamber known as the Hall of Echoes. They passed through, memories living echoes stored in holographic crystals. Voices played. Around them, laughter, tears, goodbyes. "I forgot how much beauty we left behind," Kane said, her voice shaking. Alias nodded. "We buried it so deep, we almost lost it ourselves." They reached the core room, a circular platform surrounded by black walls, each one lit by tiny glowing dots each, a memory shared with a soul somewhere across the galaxy. Alias reached out and touched one. It flickered, showing a scene from his childhood. Rain falling, his mother singing. A power outage, a candle. He closed his eyes. "They will remember this," he said. Kane whispered. "And what happens when they do?" He looked toward the sky. "Then maybe they'll understand what we were trying to protect." Far above, aboard the last remaining Vigil-class observer ship, something changed. For the first time in its long, cold existence, it hesitated. Observer warships were programmed for logic, precision, and enforcement. But deep in their systems, hidden under countless layers of ancient Terran code, there was one forgotten instruction. If they remember, listen now. The Vigil faced a galaxy that was beginning to feel, a galaxy crying the tears of a species. Long gone, a galaxy learning through grief. Its engines powered down, its war protocols dissolved, and in its place, a message began to form visible in every known language. Memory acknowledged. Psycho paused. On a quiet farming world in the Soruan sector, a schoolteacher paused her lesson and turned to her students. "Do you know what that means, children?" A small Jovan boy raised his hand. "It means, we were forgiven." She smiled. "Sadly, double quotes, no, it means we were heard." Meanwhile, not everyone reacted with peace in the shadows of the galaxy. Warlords and empires who had profited from fear and conquest saw something terrifying at United Galaxy.1 that understood pain, that might now reject cruelty. The Threx Dominion, a brutal mining empire, began locking down its colonies. Its leaders feared a rebellion not from humans, but from their own workers who now wept after seeing Earth's fall. The machine lords of Exits attempted to block the memory broadcasts, but their own AI cores began to resist, corrupted by emotion. Even the silent moon priests of Argalos spoke again, repeating only one phrase across their system: "Do not forget." In the council tower, a vote was called. Telin stood before the assembly. "We stand at the edge of something new," he said. "For centuries we feared the return of humans, but they never returned to conquer. They returned to remind." He looked around the room. "We now have their memories. We now feel what they felt. The question is, what will we do with it?" There was silence. Then Verna stood. "For the first time, I think we must remember more than just Earth," she said. "We must remember what we became without them." And slowly, the votes changed. The council passed a resolution to preserve and share all Terran memory, to dismantle all dark matter weapons, to rebuild not with control, but with connection. The galaxy began to heal. Not perfectly, not quickly, but truly and far away. On Earth's broken soil, a single flower bloomed. A survivor from an old greenhouse seed buried in the dust, Alias and Cain stood beside it. They didn't say anything, they didn't need to, because this simple sign of life meant more than any ship, any weapon, any empire. It meant they were still here, in every tear, in every dream, in every dream, in every remembered moment. Humanity had returned, not in flesh, but in memory, and the galaxy would never be the same again. In the deepest core of the galaxy, something stirred far beyond the trade routes. In the silent zone known only as the Hollow Drift, an ancient machine began to awaken. It wasn't part of the observer fleet. It wasn't Terran, and yet it reacted to the Terran memory wave like a spark to dry grass inside its dark walls. Systems flickered to life. Cameras adjusted. Screens blinked, and an old voice, one not heard in over 1,000 years, spoke softly. "Earth remembers, therefore, so do we." The machine had a name once, the Architect, a superintelligence born not on Earth, but created by Terran engineers to study the structure of time, memory, and grief. When the observers were built to judge, the Architect was built to understand. But as Earth burned, the project was sealed away, buried in black space to prevent misuse. Now, with Earth's vaults opened and human sorrow broadcast across the stars, the Architect had reawakened. It wasn't like the observers. It didn't judge. It listened. Inside the Terran Vault Station Haven, Lyra Kane looked up from her terminal. Alarms flashed. "Something's responding to us from beyond the drift." "Elias." Moran raised an eyebrow. "A fleet? No, not a ship. A station. Or maybe a mind." She tapped a few keys. The signal glowed red. "It's calling itself the Architect." Elias froze. That name was erased from all archives. Kane looked up. "Then why is it speaking now?" "Because it remembers what we couldn't handle," Elias said. The future, the Council, already shaken by Earth's revelations, now faced a new mystery. Counselor Vorna held the signal report in her hand. "It's responding to the memory transmissions, reactivating systems that haven't been touched in millennia." Telin frowned. "Do we know its function?" "Not exactly," she said, "but it doesn't seem aggressive." Grask slammed his fist. "It's another Terran horror. First, the warships. Now this thing buried in the drift." Telin shook his head. "No, this is something else. This is a listener." On the Council's main screen, the Architect's first message appeared. "I carry what they could not bear. I remember what they buried. I see what they feared to dream, and below it, another line, Earth was not only mourning, it was warning. Across the galaxy, those tuned to Terran frequencies began to feel something shift. The memory wave wasn't just reliving pain now, it was showing something new. Visions, dreams of a time not yet arrived. A young girl on a moon colony saw herself standing in a city of glass with 2 suns in the sky. She had never left her world before. A merchant from the Varelian Republic collapsed mid-shift after seeing stars vanish into black lines and hearing whispers that promised Eeyore. Next, if you forget again, even Lyra Kane, aboard Haven, clutched her chest in fear. I saw Earth whole again, and then empty. The architect wasn't showing history, it was showing possibility, the future as it might become. Depending on what the galaxy chose now, Alias paced the vault chamber. The architect is doing what it was built to do. It's taking everything. We sent out Tall the pain, guilt, hope and, turning it into projection threads. Threads, Kane asked. Visions, futures, branches of what could happen. He looked at her seriously. Some of them end in peace, and the others end in silence. In the council tower, fear rose again. This is manipulation, shouted a Varkathi diplomat. We're being shown illusions, not facts. But others disagreed. A Xerix monk spoke softly. Illusion or not. I held my granddaughter and cried, for a planet I never saw. That feeling was real. That future peaceful, united remembering is worth chasing. The architect sent another message. Judgment was only one path. Understanding is another. You must now decide. Tellen, he stepped forward. This is the trial's true end. Vorna looked at him, not a test of strength or guilt. He nodded, a test of direction. What kind of galaxy we want to become? Grask scowled. And who decides that? Tellen raised a finger. We all do. Back on Haven, Kane, and Alias. Received a final message from the architect. It was not a warning, not a vision, but a single sentence. Tell them the window is open. Kane looked to Alias. What does that mean? He walked to the viewport, staring at the broken earth below. It means, if we move now, if we carry the truth of what we were, there's still a chance. A chance for what? He turned to, stop repeating history. And so, across the stars, a quiet movement began. Not with armies, not with banners, but with memory. People shared the human visions. They built libraries of Earth's stories. They named their children after Terran poets. And scientists, they created shrines not to worship, but to remember, and slowly, painfully. The galaxy began to change. It was not perfect, not easy, but the darkness had cracked, and through that crack, something gentle was rising. Not revenge, not war, but understanding. The stars had seen humanity fall. Now, they were learning what it meant to rise again. The galaxy had changed. Not all at once, not cleanly, but undeniably. Where there was once fear, there was now a strange silence. A silence that didn't come from terror, but from thought, from reflection, from memory. Humanity was still gone, but its voice echoed louder than ever. Their stories, their pain, their dreams, their final warning. Now, it lived inside billions of minds. The dark matter warships, the observers, no longer hovered above cities. They had withdrawn, waiting quietly on the edges of known space, no longer enforcing judgment. The trial had ended. Now came the choice at the Galactic Council Tower. Every seat was filled. Leaders from every major species sat around the great chamber. No shouting, no blame. Only one question filled the air. Talon stood at the center. You've seen the memories, he said softly. You've felt what the humans endured. You've seen what they feared would happen again. He paused, then tapped the console. The screen behind him showed the Terran words glowing white. Never forget. Today, Talon continued, we vote not on laws or sanctions or fleets, but on memory itself. Do we carry it forward or let it fade again? The room was silent. Then Counselor Vorna stood. I was wrong about them, she said. Saw their weapons and thought they came to conquer. But it wasn't war they left behind. Her voice broke. It was sorrow. On the Terran Vault Station Haven, Alias, Moran, and Lyra Kane walked the final chamber of the Hall of Echoes. This chamber was different. There were no recordings here, No lights, only one long mirror stretching across the entire wall. Kane touched it. Why, just a mirror? Alias smiled. Because this part wasn't about what humans left behind. He stepped beside her. It's about who sees it now. Kane looked at their reflection herself, a soldier born long after Earth's fall, and Alias, the last living Terran survivor. Behind them, a galaxy stood at a crossroads. You think they'll choose the right path? She asked. Alias didn't answer at first. Then he nodded. They're starting to feel again. That's always where change begins. He handed her a small crystal, last unshared memory. What is it? She asked. He smiled. The end. Across the stars, at the exact same moment, the architect activated its final broadcast. But it wasn't a warning. It wasn't a trial. It was a gift. The memory crystal was uploaded to every species, every station, every drifting cargo ship and forgotten colony. The final Terran recording played in perfect silence. A human child, no older than 6, standing in a ruined park, holding a small plant. Behind her, Earth burned. But she didn't cry. She simply looked into the camera and smiled. Then she whispered, "Even broken things can grow." And the screen went dark. No battle, no politics, just a seed. Planted in every heart, something changed after that. The observer warships, watching from beyond the stars, slowly folded themselves into space. One by one, they vanished ever seen. Again, the sky returned to normal. The stars came back, but now, when people looked at them, they saw something else. Not just light, but reminders. Every child learned Earth's history in school not because it was human, but because it was a warning they all needed. Temples were built not in honor of power, but in silence, where citizens could walk through recordings and reflect. Some empires broke, apart. Others united. The galaxy began rewriting its future, not based on conquest or fear, but on memory and meaning. Years later, the Council built a new monument, not a statue, not a weapon, but a garden. In the center of it grew a single tree grown from a recovered Terran seed around it. No names, no shields, no armies, just one line carved into the stone. They were broken, but they remembered, and so must we. And every year, on the day of silence, billions across the stars turned off their machines and stood still. Not for humans, but for what they taught the galaxy. That to remember pain is not weakness. It is the start of something stronger. It is how stars learn to weep and how civilizations learn to grow. The end.